Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Jeremy Aguero joins us. He's principal with Applied Analysis, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
The trucking industry is the most resilient link in the supply chain, moving 95% of our freight in the Silver State. And while essential, the road isn't always smooth. Supply chain disruptions, rising fuel costs, and unrealistic rules and laws that hamper our ability to serve our customers and country. Our prosperity and every sector of the economy, manufacturing, mining, medicine, and food from farm to table, is tied to trucks. There's nothing without trucking.
A power line is more than a power line. It's maintaining the bottom line for small businesses. It's keeping the assembly line moving for our workforce. For our brightest minds, it's meeting a deadline. It's on the front line with our heroes. And on the sidelines of the biggest games. It's a direct line to our loved ones. And it's a lifeline for the most vulnerable. There's a lot on the line.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org. You'll be rolling with some swag during the $150,000 Spring Bling giveaways at Tamarack Casino. Make it rain with up to $5,000 in cash every week and 20 large in cash guaranteed during the grand finale drawing. We're blinging in your good times at Tamarack Casino.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers here at the Ahern Hotel in Las Vegas. I am absolutely delighted, as always, to welcome Jeremy Aguero. He's the principal of Applied Analysis. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Thank you. You wrote an editorial recently, and I would love you to just give a brief synopsis of what that editorial was about, because I thought it was a remarkable. I had to write to you to tell you it was a remarkable.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate it. Look, going back probably almost 15 years ago now, Nevada State Bank came to me. Dallas Hahn was running the bank at the time, came to me and said, things are kind of bad right now. This was during the Great Recession. And he said, I would just like to write about something that's positive. Put something out there, talk about it, something along those lines. And so that's how that series of articles kind of began. And as it's evolved, it's been more about, the economy and kind of some of the things that I'm seeing. This particular article was really specific to the fact that, oftentimes at the extremes is where the attention gets, but the solutions are found in the middle. And in Southern Nevada, we're seeing this across the board with things like growth and all the challenges that we have as a community. And, I tried to draw it into some of the solutions we've made with the Colorado River, right? So impressed by what John Ensminger and the folks at the Southern Nevada Water Authority have done, as well as this community at large, to find a way to conserve water, to share in the cost, to share in the solution, right? I believe that is the answer to so many of the challenges that we have today. And, I am fond of saying that just is the most dangerous word that's out there. You can't just do one thing. You can't just do another thing. You have to find ways to solve all of the problems and find a way to do it correct.
And there is a cost.
There is a cost, and we're either going to share it or we're not. The idea that we can just pass it on to someone else indefinitely is fantasy thinking.
I think that the middle is such an important place. And the noise of media, broadcast media, social media, is just creating so much negative energy in this country. And if everybody could just take a break for a week or two and realize that, I tell people, for example, I live in Reno, Nevada, and people are worried about all these different things. And I say, look around. We've got mountains. We've got nice streets. We've got nice people living in those streets. Families are going to church, they're going to the synagogue, they're operating businesses, their kids are doing well in school. All this other stuff is noise. Live your life, enjoy your life.
Sam, I don't know that there's any point in history where people have had it so good and felt so bad about it. I mean, consumer confidence is abysmally low. Like, it's lower than it was during COVID. It's lower than it was during the Great Recession. It's remarkably low. And yet, by all measures, right, by many measures, not all measures, right, we're doing fairly well. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody's doing fairly well. There's some real challenges out there. But here in the state of Nevada, we're leading the United States in terms of employment growth. We're seeing rising incomes. We're seeing companies that are continuing to relocate and expand. Now, we have our challenges, and they are real. But even some of the challenges we've been facing, increases in the healthcare workforce, which we've been talking about for a long time, we're starting to see those. Right? I believe when all of the education statistics come out after this year, we're going to see increases in graduation rates. We're going to see increases in the number of school star ratings. We're going to see increases in test scores. What changes did we make? We restructured how we fund K through 12 education. Governor Lombardo and the legislature found a way to put $2 billion into that. And lo and behold, our students are starting to perform more. And oh, by the way, where we used to have all these teacher vacancies, now we've got teachers that are in there and getting a fair wage and are continuing to gain that experience that's necessary to help their students. I mean, we know how to solve problems in this state and in this community, and I think we're doing it in a very effective way. But, again, it takes coming together to find those solutions.
So one of the issues is, and this goes back probably thousands of years. We want to go back. I talked about this in the previous show. To the Romans and the Greeks and the ancient civilizations. But newspapers were sold on bad news. If you had a big headline, the old line, if it bleeds, it leads. And television news and radio news copied newspapers. Then newspapers started to fail. And suddenly the TV stations, the radio stations had nowhere to go to be able to copy the news and have it for themselves. So suddenly they started relying on the scanner, which meant they were talking about police incidents, and they were talking about fires and things like that. You had more and more expansion of news because there was the ability through politics to fund this, but not content. And there's so much positive content out there, but we don't have a training ground. When I started in television in the late 1800s, there were people in the newsroom who'd been around a while, but you could sit down with them and say, hey, is this story fair? Is this story accurate? How should I improve it? And these people were able to help you. Now, when they have 20 newscasts a day, it's impossible for them to do that. And so many stations cover it. So we're reinforcing all this negativity when, in fact, the real world is actually a very nice place.
And I think for many it is. I think the situation, and I agree. I don't want to discount the fact that there are people out there that are really struggling. And that's real, and it's a challenge, and it's something that we have to acknowledge, and something we have to face. But I agree with everything you just said. I don't care whether it's positive or negative. I do care whether it's true or not correct. And that really seems to matter. It strikes me that there's so many folks in the media that got into journalism in particular because they wanted to report, because they wanted to be that institution. But we have lost trust in institutions as a country. And I think we're seeing the impacts associated with that. Recently, I took a look at the approval ratings of Congress, which, by the way, is only slightly higher than like malaria. Okay? I mean, it's terrible. But you know who is below Congress? Social media companies, right? And you get the reason why, right? There's such a lack of trust relative to that in terms of what they're doing and how they're doing it. Now, there's some things that they do that are wonderfully important and really good and all that type of thing. But at the end of the day, when you think about how people are getting information today, where you and I went to a source that we believed was going to report the news, that at least their primary goal was to get the truth out and to send it, right? In today's world, that's not what it's about. It's about keeping engagement overall. It's about reporting whatever gets you to continue to scroll or gets you to click. That's where the value is driven in those markets. And from that perspective, I think that is a very dangerous game. And I think what we are seeing as a result of that is a pushback socially. And look, that lack of institutional trust, we have earned that. right? We have earned it from a political standpoint. I think we've earned it in some corporate activities that have taken place. I think we've certainly earned it in terms of some of the media, most notably social media. I think we've earned it. It took us some time to lose it. I think it's going to take us some real time to earn it back. But I think there's a lot of people that are really interested in finding their way to essentially go back to the article, going back to find the way to the middle, the things that we can agree on.
Okay, one of the things that I find fascinating is that youth are pushing away from social media to an extent and getting more involved in actual physical social engagement. And I think that's a very good thing. Malls are having a little bit of a resurgence now. More gathering places are having a resurgence. And I think that that's all to the good. And I try to tell people, don't doom scroll. Don't be sitting there looking at Facebook and flicking through it and thinking it's all accurate. Or clicking through and finding yourself in some kind of hacker's homeland. There's so much good out there to balance out the bad. And yes, you're absolutely right. Not everybody is going to succeed, but in our democracy, that's not the way it works. I mean, there are going to be people that succeed tremendously. There are going to be people that fail tremendously, but there's going to be a very large middle that does just fine. And so I think that's the answer to so many of our questions, Sam. I think that what you just said is absolutely brilliant from the standpoint. Look, I've been spending a lot of time looking at generational differences because from an analysis standpoint, I think it's extremely important. I think Gen Z is going to be the most underrated generation in recent modern history. Their ability, the things that they've learned, the things that they can do, all those type of things are going to be nothing short of amazing. Now, obviously, people are worried about AI and the way it's going to take jobs and shift things, and that's going to happen. But if you look around this world that has 9 billion people on it, and you think about how the technology that is going at a very rapid pace and is going to create very real challenges, but also has the ability to change worlds, change lives, provide opportunities, health, access to healthcare, changing transportation, increasing productivity for everything from a teacher to a crop, right? We have the ability to do that. All of a sudden, you start thinking about all the areas around the world that we could lift up as a result of that. And then they become consumers, and then they get to live better lives. Yes, it's maybe different somewhat in the United States, although I'm very optimistic in terms of what the innovation is going to do within our own four walls. But the real economic opportunity is not necessarily in the United States. It is lifting up the world. And if we can find it within ourselves to help solve all of those problems, to create a greater degree of prosperity around the entire world, the economic opportunities that are associated with that are almost limitless for generations. Well, I couldn't agree with you more. And one of the problems associated with this is the lack of news coverage anywhere about what happens beyond the borders of the United States. We know a tiny bit about Canada, we know a tiny bit about Mexico, but go north or south of there and you really don't know anything. And then you look at the rest of the world. If you asked Americans to pinpoint Mali on a map, they would look at you like, what's a Mali? I mean, we have no understanding of international news, and yet, it's funny. I watch a channel called CGTN, China Global Television Network. It is a propaganda network, but they're so bad at propaganda that you can spot it easily in 1 second. If they start talking about Taiwan, it's garbage. But they have news coverage in countries all over the world that the United States does not cover. And it's fascinating to see what's going on in Africa, what's going on in Southeast Asia, what's going on in the Middle East. I mean, it really is incredible, and I wish that we had more of that information coming into the U.S. to educate U.S. citizens, not only from a fascinating story point of view, but from the potential to make money.
Look, it's where the opportunity is. It's where the opportunity is. And I think when we look forward, we are in the infancy of the type of innovation that we're going to see during our lifetimes. I can't even imagine what our children, grandchildren's lifetimes are going to see relative to that. I also sort of believe, Sandal, we're living in a bit of a magical kind of a time. I feel like, this generation that's sort of had, at least my point now, has had to grow up without so much of this technology and now has it all. And the increase in productivity is unbelievable. Again, what doctors are able to do, what engineers are able to do today, I mean, it was unfathomable 50 years ago, 100 years ago, right? I mean, we all live lives that people, again, couldn't have imagined 100 years ago, right? Everybody likes to talk about the good old days. They were old. I don't think they were that good, right? Right. What we have now is unbelievable. And that's the other part. I think it's up to us to make sure that we prepare for it responsibly. That what we are doing is setting ourselves up for something that I think we all care about, particularly in this state, and that is making sure that it has a viable future.
Well, the other part of it is to know that all these AI technologies are tools. I think of the calculator. When we were kids, you weren't allowed to take a calculator into math class because it was remote. Now, if you didn't take a calculator of some kind, which is your phone essentially, you would be thrown out of the class for not keeping up with what's going on. It's interesting with medical technology, for example. My wife and I went on a doctor's visit. She had a radiological scan. The doctor called 5 minutes after the scan and said, "Is everything okay?" She had read something on the scan, not being a radiologist, that looked like there was a problem. There was not a problem. We didn't have to turn around and go back to the emergency room, but it's a tool. It's, until the radiologist looked at it, it wasn't confirmed. One has to use all of this technology right now and go, okay, it's a tool. It's not 100% yet. And I know, you and I are both public figures. We can both go on to any of these engines right now and search ourselves and find all kinds of errors and have to correct those errors. So people should just be wary. Yes, we're in this incredible time, but be wary. These are tools. They are not your teacher and your leader.
Look, I couldn't agree more. First of all, I'm glad your wife is okay.
Yes.
Second of all, it's a tool, not a crutch, right? We're still responsible for it. Look, and, the productivity, and we started talking about younger people, right? This idea that they're coming up. It's going to be the challenge they're going to have to deal with. But I imagine my parents thought, what in the world are these guys going to do? I mean, are you kidding me? These video games or that Ozzy Osbourne is going to melt my brain, right? And the generation before that, it was, I don't know, the Beatles or Elvis was going to be the end of us, or television or radio or the spoken word or the cell phone or whatever it is. Everybody always wants to believe that we're heading towards some type of doomsday. I don't think that way at all. I think the opportunities that are in front of us as a state and as a country and as a world are absolutely remarkable. Now, we got to be responsible with those, and I hope that we ultimately are. But, try to go back to a time in history where you think humanity had it better than they had it today. I don't know how you do that. I don't think, maybe the Garden of Eden. Oh, perhaps.
That would be. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
When the system was rigged, he took on the big banks and big tech and won. He built tools to fight fraud and protect consumers. And he stood up to Donald Trump right here in Reno when it wasn't easy. Now he'll put an end to the tariffs, raising costs on families, guarantee health care for every American, and keep fighting for our values, honesty, integrity, and the backbone to hold the powerful accountable. That's our Greg Kidd.
I'm Greg Kidd, and I approve this message.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
We are still waiting on official results from Nevada. They could still be getting ballots next week.
The state of Nevada allows ballots to be counted for almost a week after Election Day. Winners and losers can change for a week? It's embarrassing, and it makes you wonder about trusting the process. It's time to stop accepting ballots after Election Day and bring trust back to our elections. I'm Shirley Folkens-Roberts, and I'm running to make Election Day, the way it should be.
Carson Valley Inn, it's your place for the good times. Carson Valley Inn.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Jeremy Aguero. He is the principal of applied analysis. And by the way, you have an incredible history, and I'm just going to suggest to people that they should Google you, and that way we don't take up half the show talking about it. So here's a question for you. We're the richest country in the world, correct? The United States, but with $38 trillion in debt. How are we the richest country in the world?
Well, look, I mean, I think the debt is a long-standing problem, right? We're going to have to address it. It is a absolute irresponsibility and something that we are leaving for our children and our grandchildren that they are going to have to deal with.
Okay, but I've been hearing that my
Me too.
entire life.
Me too.
And here's the situation, which is I think we are dealing with it. I think the way we're dealing with it is incredible inflation in the price of housing. You look at a house that you bought 34 years ago for X amount of dollars. It's now worth 5 times that, but it's still the same house. It's no different. You're looking at senior citizens who are getting nothing on their returns on their investments unless they're taking wild chances in their old age because the government can't afford to have higher interest rates to pay back on that debt. It just seems like we are in that phase. Senator Reid told me in one of my last interviews with him before he passed that we were already past the tipping point for the debt.
Yeah, look, I don't think anybody knows where that tipping point is. I think we all look at it. We all know it's irresponsible, right? The idea that we are going to take out money now and pay it back with some type of deflated dollar, which I think is at least part of the strategy, seems like a fairly good idea. We've certainly done it in the past. The problem is the United States dollar continues to remain relatively strong overall, right? We are never going to print our way to prosperity, and that is what the United States is attempting to do, right? In my opinion, it is something that we should be taking on as a country because, we took out the money, we spent the money, we ought to pay it back, right? There have been some high-profile concerns raised about the United States and its fiscal position. Do I believe that we're, inherently unstable? Do I feel like tomorrow it can all collapse? Of course not. Of course not. But we ought to take some responsibility. Sam, I wish I had the response to you. I wish I said, oh, don't worry, we're going to grow our way out of it. Or don't worry, it's going to be deflated. It's not any of those things. It's the only way the United States gets out of this situation is to materially decrease expenditures and to materially increase the revenue that is coming in, or some combination of the two, one or the other, both combinations. That's the only way we're going to solve that problem.
Or inflate our way out.
Well, I don't even know that you could necessarily inflate your way out of it. Not today.
It's too big.
It's too big. And the other part is you would need all the other currencies around the world to sort of play along, right? You would need the United States dollar to somehow be devalued. And all of the problems that we have, all the things that we do wrong, the other countries do it way worse, right? We're like the cleanest shirt in the hamper. Right? And in many ways, you want to know where investment comes in? It comes in to the United States. International dollars make their way in. Now, that's not perfect, and it's not always right. And obviously, last few years, some of that has changed. There's no doubt about that. But the idea that the United States is somehow going to put itself into a negative financial position in order to somehow alleviate the debt would have so many negative externalities, I don't think we could actually do it. And so much like the other challenge that we have, I think we have to be more realistic about it and more responsible about where we are. And to be clear, this is Republicans and Democrats. Yeah. This isn't one or the other. That debt has gone up on both sides. We talk about the fact that we're going to, make all these cuts to government. No, we're not.
Well, no, and you're absolutely right. I mean, the idea of conservatism in financial matters went out the window a long time ago. We have to take another break. We'll be right back.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Hi, I'm George Harris, and I'm running for State Senate in District 8. This shouldn't be controversial. Girls deserve a fair shot in sports, in scholarships, and in life. Allowing biological boys to compete in girls' sports isn't inclusive. It's unfair. It takes away opportunities from young women who've worked their entire lives to compete and succeed. We can respect everyone and protect girls' sports. Fairness matters, biology matters. I'm George Harris, and I'll stand up for our daughters every time.
Reno is full of hard-working, caring people. We're neighbors, business owners, families who need attainable homes, good-paying jobs, and a future we can count on. What we don't need are more big political promises with bigger price tags and politicians who let the latest Washington trends guide their policies. We need no-nonsense leaders with fiscal discipline who are focused on results for Reno families. I'm Kathleen Taylor, and I'm running for mayor to do just that.
Back on Nevada Newsmakers with Jeremy Aguero. We're almost out of time here.
This is
Did you
Nevada
ever think
Newsmakers.
that Nevada and Southern Nevada in particular would become such an incredible sports market?
Look, I don't know that I ever could have imagined, but I will never forget walking out of one of the Southern Nevada Tourism Infrastructure Committees with Steve Hill. And, he looks at me and says, this is after like the Raiders, they come in and all that. He looks at me and says, we're going to go get this thing done. And from that moment, it sort of changed something in my mind that almost anything is possible here. And when you see now, looking back at everything that's been accomplished, we've done what no one thought was possible. And look, growing up here as a kid, I certainly didn't think that it was possible. But today, I believe almost anything is possible here.
And I think that Steve Hill was the right man for the time. He's done an unbelievable job.
There is no doubt whatsoever. He has been remarkably instrumental to this community's economic success, and his ability to guide those opportunities, to find them, to guide them, and to shepherd them all the way across the finish line, I think is unprecedented in our community.
Jeremy Aguero, please come back soon.
Oh, you tell me when. I always love it.
Thank you, sir.
And we'll be right back.
Meet Nevada Health Link, Nevada's official health insurance marketplace. Your link to savings, selection, free assistance, and name brand health insurance, where 90% of enrollees lower the cost of their monthly premium. Everyone deserves access to quality health coverage, no matter your income or family size. Visit NevadaHealthLink.com. A few minutes could save you hundreds of dollars per month.
Nevada Health Link. Our plans are made for your plans.
Welcome to the Ahern Boutique Hotel, where luxury and warmth come together in the heart of Las Vegas.
We take pride in offering a one-of-a-kind experience for both locals and tourists.
Join us for handcrafted cocktails and an unforgettable experience.
Joel's Chop House, the perfect place to savor views of the Las Vegas Strip.
Satisfy your cravings at the Ahern Chocolate Shop.
No smoking, no resort fees, and the parking is always free. The Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel is your home away from home.
At the heart of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we power the future with global leaders in technology and manufacturing. From advanced manufacturing to tech innovation, our industries are creating thousands of quality careers, fueling a vibrant economy that benefits every Nevadan. Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from the Ahern Hotel in Las Vegas. We'll see you on the next broadcast.